Hi everyone, thank you for coming to the SGA debates. We're going to get started. We're going to start by giving every candidate a few seconds to talk about themselves and introduce themselves. We'll start with Jerry on that side and go down.
Just personal introductions?
Sorry?
Just like personal introductions?
Yeah, just personal introductions, a little bit about yourself.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Jerry Shaw. I'm going to be a junior next year. I'm a computer science major. My leadership experience on this campus, I've been involved with a number of student organizations, namely robotics, badminton, and I've been working with sports steamers and school administration on a number of different projects. And I'm running for president. Speak close to the mic.
Hello?
Okay.
Hello? Hello everyone. My name is Electoral. Most people know me as Moderator. I'm running for the president of the Student Government Association. I've been involved in various organizations on our campus. I served as the president of the SGA of ASO for 1 year. I also served in the union board as vice president for a year and a half.
Hello everyone, my name is Anze. A lot of you know me as Leo as well. This is my third year in computer engineering and IT. I've been working with SGA for the past 2 years. I started as a senator and I'm currently the vice president of student life. And I've also worked with a few offices on campus. I'm a resident advisor, I've been an orientation leader, peer mentor, I've worked on a student committee survey. And I've worked on a few student boards before joining SGA.
Hi everyone, my name is Khadija Nesbitt. I am a second year architectural engineering major. Currently, I'm the Black Student Union president and also the vice president of RHA. Something cool about me, I like to practice and speak Korean in my free time, and I really enjoy meeting and learning about new people and new cultures and new things. Other things that I do on campus, I'm currently a member of the President's Student Advisory Council, or PSAC. And I've been working with administration on the current math grant issue and other things on campus.
Thank you. We're going to get started with the first question that's to all candidates. We'll start with Khadija and go down that way. And if at any point you want me to repeat the question, please let me know. The question is, as president of SGA, you will have to meet with the university president and the board of trustees regularly to discuss student perspectives on key university issues. Why are you qualified to represent the entire student body to get a sense of student thoughts and opinions? Sorry, before you answer, you have 60 seconds to answer this question.
Why do I feel like the most qualified? I have been to a board of trustee meeting, and with being on PSAC, I have met with the president. So I kind of see a layout of how things are kind of going at the school, how they handle the meetings. I also have a very good way of reaching out to people. I like to find out about new things. I'm very proactive, so it's not just like guesses that I use to find out what the worst issues are on campus. I like to go around, ask students, and communicate. So I feel like I'd be a good candidate because I'll make sure to get like everyone's opinion and not just the ones that I happen to hear from like my best friends or whatever. But also, I am very good at communicating and speaking with higher administrations. I've done so far this year.
Thank you.
So for me, I would like to start by saying I've had a good share of meetings and conversations with the president and the provost personally, working through SGA or the student speak survey and multiple other occasions. What I bring to the table today is actually my experience with the students rather than with the president. So when we're talking about how we're going to represent our students, when we're talking to the administration, I think it's very important to know that I've had experience as a resident advisor, orientation leader, peer mentor, and many other things, where I've had the experience and the professional training to listen and reflect on what students want and be able to act upon what those needs are. And I've been working on that for the past 3 years. And I've had a lot of conversations with the president and the administration of IT, whether it's the vice presidents of each department. And as the vice president of student life, we were able to take those conversations and bring ideas to life. And I plan to continue this forward when working with the president of the provost.
Thank you.
Hello. Once again, for those over here, my name is Wale. So, why am I the best fit to carry across student problems to the president. Was that your question, Anoopa?
Yeah, why are you the best qualified to represent the entire student body?
So, for those that know me, they know that I've been involved in a variety of student organizations. My data is simply mean that I've been involved in small student organizations and big student organizations. So while I was president of ASO, there's nothing you need more than to relate to the members of the organizations. And as president, you hear a lot of information from your members about what's going on in the IIT campus. Also, I'm a very active participant in intramural sports as well as varsity athletics, where I play varsity soccer. And in intramurals, you have an opportunity to meet a very diverse group of IIT students that participate in whatever events that they're doing. And for those that have played with me, they know that I always ask questions that are critical to, Illinois Tech as an institution. I ask questions about what I would like the service they're getting, and as well as if there's something we can do to make it better. And that is just my way of relating to people. As for talking to the president, I feel like I have...
Sorry, Wally, I'm gonna have to break you off. You have a chance.
Thank you.
Hi, once again, my name is Jerry. One of the reasons that actually drove me to running for this position was because that I do believe that I'm very well qualified to represent the student body's interests. And that's not because I'm going to claim that I have more student org involvement or more awareness of every person or every student on campus. But one of the reasons that really drove me to run for this position was because of the number of complaints and vocal protests that certain students have voiced against the current administration through outlets such as TechNews and through various online outlets. And seeing many what I would deem questionable behaviors from the administration, especially the higher levels of the administration, really made me want to come and reach a point where I can directly be in conversation with people who would actually make a difference, being the president of the exec board. Now, with the highest levels of the school administration, the president and the student advisory council, I can't claim that much experience, but I do have a different type of experience in that I've worked with a number of other departments on campus, such as College of Engineering, KD Sports Administration, and the College of Undergraduate and Graduate Admissions. So I have a different perspective on what the administration is and how they work, and given that it's a bureaucratic system that we work in, I believe the wider perspective is also important.
Thank you, Jeremy. So the next question is, a large part of the student body at IIT feels that SGA's connection with the student body is lacking, and they feel that the organization doesn't truly represent them. Do you think that it is important for SGA to consistently reach out to students on campus and let them know that they're an available resource, or do you feel that it is up to the students to take it up as their responsibility to find and reach out to SGA, and if they're not making the effort to be informed, then they're not going to get the resources? We'll start with Wale, go down this way, and Jeffrey.
I believe it's the SGA duty to reach out to students so they can get involved.
I have to agree with Wally on this. It is something that we talk about almost every day as an executive board. We talk about inside and everything. That it is absolutely the duty of SGA to reach out to the students. But I would also like to share with you a vision that is a little bit far from us right now. But if we actually continue to carry on this idea of how much we need to be out there with the students, whether it's on the bridge, having senators representing our student organizations, continuing conversations as town halls and everything related to SGA being out there for the students, my hope and my vision is that one day we're going to reach a level where the students know SGA so much that when they think of an idea, in an instant, okay, we're going to talk to SGA, we're going to do this. So there's no longer that gap between SGA and the students. We're actually creating this bubble where we're working together, and not just us pushing for them, they're pushing for us as well.
I also agree. I believe it's on SGA to put themselves out there to the students, so the students know that they are there. SGA is literally the voice of the student body to the IIT administration, and at other schools, they represent the students. So when anything happens and the students have issues or concerns or questions, they bring them to SGA, and SGA makes things happen. In the current situation with the MAP grant at other schools, it is SGA that is getting the students together to go up to Springfield and rally for them, for their MAP grant. So I believe that it's important that SGA reaches out to the students and lets them know that they are there and lets them know that they care and that they are involved and they want to hear their issues and their concerns or even their suggestions on how to make the campus better. It falls on SGA so that way the students feel confident to come to SGA and know that if they go to SGA, things will get solved.
Let's repeat the original question.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the question was that a large part of the student body at IIT feel that there's a disconnect between SGA and their needs. Do you feel that it is SGA's responsibility to continue to students and make them aware that they're a resource, or do you think that the students need to seek them out as a resource?
Okay, so after three different voices supporting the current status quo and what SGA has been doing, I'm going to have to throw in a dissenting voice and say that no. Currently, what SGA is doing is obviously not working very well. Also, students wouldn't feel the disconnect, which is why I would suggest if I were to become the president, I would instead of trying to actively reach out and ask students what they want, I would just be quiet and listen. And if you look at what's been happening in the past few years, there are very vocal examples of what has been happening in the student body that actually have been posted on the SGA website. For example, when the Create Your Own Meal Plan was removed, there were a number of petitions on the SGA website to have that back. And a few years before that, when it became mandatory for students living on campus to buy one of the more expensive meal plans, there was an outburst of comments online on the SGA website petitioning somebody to do something in that situation. And nothing ever got solved. Here we are sitting again next semester. There's only the Hot 175 and Hot 14 and Hot 19 plans available for students. That's just one of many examples that they did right now. For example, Keating Sports has been needing renovation for a very, very long time. And if you look online, if you look on TechNews, if you look at various online like student bodies, social media, you'll see that this voice has been out there for sports facilities. Every spring break you see complaints of why is the gym closed so early when we can go to the gym. And these are all problems that students are already actively and vocally complaining about, and no one's really taking any action from the student's perspective. So it's natural that there is a disconnect.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. So the next set of questions is going to be to each individual candidate. You will have about 90 seconds to answer these questions. The first question is for Jerry. In the candidate packet, you were asked, what is one thing SGA is doing well and how would you continue or improve on it? And you chose not to answer the question, saying no comment. Can you tell us more about why you didn't answer the question and if you will choose to answer that now?
Well, I don't feel that I was entirely qualified to answer that question. There's a lot of things that SGA obviously does that I'm probably not aware of, but there's also a lot of things that I would very much want to see SGA do, which is why I'm running for this position. So obviously the first thing I want to do when I'm elected is to figure out what exactly is on the SGA agenda and go from there. So when that question was asked for me during the candidate stage, when I'm still trying to scope out the whole scale of the organization, I don't feel I was uniquely qualified to answer that fully.
If I can ask a follow-up question to that, you're only looking at the perspective of being on SGA, but as a student, what do you feel that SGA is doing well or can improve on?
Well, that's kind of the reason why I'm running, is because I believe SGA could use some improvement. And I say that based on a number of the school students I've talked to. I know I'm only currently involved in two, but because of the size and scale of the coordination I'm involved with, I've been working with many students on campus regarding financial issues, regarding reservation and travel issues. And basically every time SGA has been brought up in our conversation, it was not in an entirely positive way. So that's kind of why I really wanted to run for this and see for myself what it is. And that's why I wanted to withhold my comment on what SGA really is until I got into it and saw for myself.
Thank you. The next question is to Khadija. Your question is, you're highly involved in other student organizations around campus, which give you a unique perspective to how SGA communicates with other organizations. That being said, as indicated in your candidate packet, you have never been involved in SGA. Some students may be concerned by your lack of experience in SGA and that it will hinder you from accomplishing your duties to the best of your ability. How familiar are you with how SGA works and what can you do to address all of the apprehensions students may have about your candidacy?
So to address that question, previously I was not very involved with SGA. mainly because I'm involved in a whole lot of things. Actually, my first year, it's my second year here, and my first year I wasn't really aware about SGA on campus. That could have been a combination of how they represented themselves on campus my first year here, or it could also have been a representation of the fact that it was my first year and I was just trying to catch up and get on the right path with my grades in my schooling. So yeah, I haven't been involved prior to, but because I realized that as a problem, I have been talking with Raul and Sparno and Soren, who are all members of SGA. I talked with Jay before he passed about SGA and things that they have done. When he told me about like when the meetings and everything were, unfortunately it clashed with my schedule. But I made a point to ask and question about things that were happening in SGA meetings, what kind of concerns and things they were tackling. A lot of times RHA and SGA were working together, so that gave me a good idea to see like where they go, how they address certain issues, what issues they address. And then I continue to ask questions to Raul and them because I wanted to know more about what SGA does. And I have learned a whole lot because I didn't know a lot of the things that SGA had done prior to me coming in to become a candidate for president. So to address the students' apprehension, I have been trying to learn more and more about SGA, and I will continue to learn more. It won't be just if I do become president, oh, well, I got here and I think I'll just do whatever. I will continue to learn more on how we've been doing things, see what are good and that can stay, and then see where I can improve on those things, because SGA has some great points, and I want those things to continue, but there's also things that everyone's pointed out need to be changed, and we can work on together. Thank you for the question.
Thanks. So the next question is to Wole. In your candidate packet, you outlined a few proposed methods to improve SGA's relationship with the student body and student organizations on campus. Some of the methods that you outlined are already in place and are being carried out. Do you feel that your perceived disconnect with SGA in the way it's currently working will inhibit your ability to accomplish your goals and to create effective change? Or on the other hand, how do you think it's going to help you?
So, in my outline about how I'm going to help SGA improve, I mentioned some ways that I'm going to work towards that, right? But before I can get to that particular point, we have to sort of get over the major problem, which is the disconnect between the SGA and students. And for that to happen, I believe that I do have plans in place for that to happen, so can I talk about those?
We have 90 seconds in total.
Okay, so for SGA to bridge the disconnect between the organization and the students in the IIT campus, I believe that we can do one thing. And that one thing is to make student organizations liable for involvement in SGA with their members. By that, I simply mean that when student organizations need to get approval, they come to SGA. But after that, there's no relationship between student organizations and SGA. If you set a standard where student organization require the members to also give us feedback to be the voice that we need from the IIT community, I think that's a way that we can bridge that disconnect between SGA and the students. And the moment we can bridge that disconnect, then we can work to focus on the other problem, which will be handled by the Senate and the other members of the executive board.
Thank you. Next question is to Hamza. You have many years of experience working within SGA, and that gives you a different perspective. But how do you think your perceived bias of looking from the SGA perspective for such a prolonged period of time will affect you when you're approached by students who have never had a positive experience with SGA or who don't see things the same way that you do?
Thank you for the question. So this marks my 7th semester in IIT, so I'm currently a 4th year student. And I've been involved with SGA for the past 2 years only. So, not enough, but it's fair to say that I've had my experience of looking at SGA from the outside, which brought me to the decision 2 years ago to actually want to be involved. Because I was able to see a lot of potential in the student body like SGA and the things that we can do. I was inspired by a few thoughts that we can accomplish a lot, but I was also surrounded by all the ideas of SGA is not doing much for us, SGA is not representing us properly. And SGA is lacking this problem and that problem, and we need them to hear our voices. And that is the reason that I actually joined in. Now, when you argue that in those past 2 years I've been involved in SGA entirely, That is correct. I've been giving a lot of my time and devotion for SGA, but I've also had, and I still have other positions where I listen to students all the time, and they come to me as the Vice President of Student Life with all the ideas and concerns. And it is our job at SGA to actually take those concerns and transfer them into projects and ideas. And we're currently working on multiple of those ideas. So a lot of my efforts are actually reaching out to those students through the town halls, our committee on the bridge, and every other push out to actually reach out to those students who are biased against SGA or need a change to become happy.
Thank you. With that, I would like to give every candidate about 1 minute of closing remarks for anything they want to say to the student body before we end the president section. We can start with Jerry.
Just general closing remarks?
60 seconds.
Okay, well, I guess I feel that my voice in this debate has been rather unique because I seem to be the only one who's willing to speak out against the status quo. We started this debate by saying that there is a perceived disjoint between SGA and the student body, and that something is obviously not working was the current way that the SGA was functioning. And I believe that as a virtual outsider who has not had the bias of being part of SGA for a long time or being intimately involved as leaders of SGA for a long time prior, I'm uniquely in a position to actively change the administration, the way current SGA is currently run, as opposed to supporting and telling ourselves that we are doing a good job and we should just keep proceeding with what we can do. I'm very willing to, first of all, understand well what exactly is going on with the new organization, and to make any drastic change or small change, whatever it may be, that is necessary to put us on the right course.
Thank you.
So, first of all, my presence on this stage embodies the very strength that IIT shows. IIT's greatest strength is not in its academic work, but in its people. Our people are from some of the most diverse backgrounds in the world, and I believe that we should embody every single one of the students. Now, the first question we should ask ourselves: are we embodying our diverse population? The second question we should ask is: what is the purpose of SGA? We talk about SGA being a liaison between the students and the administrators, but the first thing we need to do is bridge the disconnect between SGA and the students. The moment we do that, we can begin to answer the question: is SGA embodying our diverse population? Thank you.
So I would like to open everybody's eyes to one specific idea that I have. If you look at us right now and the things that we're saying, we're hardly disagreeing on most of the stuff, right? We're here to help improve the student experience on campus. And we're here sharing the same visions towards that. It might differ in a few technical issues on how we can approach it, but we're essentially going for the same thing. So what I want you to ask yourself right now is, when you look at the four of us, knowing that we're presenting the same ideas, knowing that we're going for the same goals, who is in the best fit position to be able to carry those goals and carry them forward and share them with the administration and push them to make them actually things that come to life, rather than just ideas that we're discussing between each other today and we never see them come true. My experience so far would be a huge supporting for me with the administration, with the students, with my time at IIT. And I have the devotion, the passion, and the drive to do all for SGA, and that goes with my commitment for the past 2 years. And I also would like to highlight that I'm very open for those ideas that we're discussing. It doesn't mean I'm very exclusive to my thought. Everything I'm hearing today, everything I hear every day, I'm very open to taking on as that my personal project, once I believe that there's a change, a positive change that can come out from those ideas. So the question is, who is the best to carry on those ideas to success?
Thank you.
I'd like to say that I sincerely want SGA to be the force to be reckoned with, like it is at so many other schools, to be the embodiment of what the students' issues and concerns and thoughts are, and to be able to advocate for our students who may think that we're not being advocated for. And like everyone else has said, we all have similar ideas, we all have similar ways of what we want to see change with SGA. So it's really up to you all to decide which one you think will do it better. I think regardless of who you choose, everyone here will work and listen to everyone else to get great ideas to come to life on SGA, because we all want the same goal for SGA to be better. But I'd like to say that I personally feel that I'm very, very involved in a lot of different things, and I'm very, very open to a lot of different people, and I love listening and hearing and working for people that have issues, because I want everyone's issues to be solved if I have this way of solving it. And I want everyone here to know that, you have the power to make IIT a better place. If you have something you want to change on this campus, you yourself have the power, and I want SGA to help you, regardless of who you pick, to have that empowerment to do great things on this campus. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to have 5 minutes of questions from the audience. If you have questions to specific candidates, you can come up to the microphone right here.
Hey team, good work being up here. I'm proud of you all. What are your plans for empowering student self-financing? Maybe that's student businesses. We have all these problems, math grant issues, funding education, tuition's going up every year. We can expect that, but how can we as students start generating our own revenue to cover the cost of protecting these space? What will you do to help that happen?
Shorter. Is there an order where you're answering it?
I think anyone who wants to speak first can go. You don't all have to answer the question.
You all don't have to answer. You don't have to answer, it's fine. You do, it's fine.
But there will be about a minute limit on anyone who wants to speak.
Okay, so I'll answer the question again. So I believe that one of the most important ways that we can help students self-finance is by giving them an opportunity to work. By working, we don't mean doing like mundane jobs, but giving them an opportunity to be connected in internships and co-ops. The reason why I was able to pay my fees for this semester was because I did a co-op for 7 months, and with the money I was able to pay off what I needed for this semester. If you can connect students with opportunities where they can get paid for the work they're doing, then they'll be able to make enough money to finance their education. So increasing the career prospects of students at IIT should be at the very core of whoever is running for SGA president, because the moment you can increase their career prospects, then you can increase the opportunity to self-finance themselves.
So you can't just that, I'll just go. Alright, so to answer your question, I'd have to think about that more, because I don't know, besides, jobs here on campus for students, what else that the school would allow us to do and what is already in place. But I'd like to see, me personally, I'd like the idea that so many people here are talented and have different things they're good at doing. So I'd like to see us work together on and work on our talents. So if you're able to make something, then you should be having an avenue to be able to sell what you make and students to support you. Or if you're good at photography, we should be able to call you and say, hey, I need pictures for an event, we'll give you this amount. I know you have a couple of DJs on campus that come and do events and they are able to work with student organizations. So I wonder if we could expand on that and find a way for students to use their talents on campus and, try to make money for what they are already good at and already able to do, maybe back at home. So I'd have to still think about that and work on that, but that's a general idea of what I thought of when you asked that question.
So I'd like to be a little more specific. On the go right now, I was able to think of 4 ideas for you that we can institutionally actually try to push on, so we can improve our way to try your vision, right? The main idea is what Roland talked about, internships or co-ops. Those are, of course, a huge support for our students to be able to finance themselves and support themselves out there, and are important for your future career and everything. But that being said, we all suffer every day to get that internship and to start somewhere and get that experience that we need to get out there. Which brings me to my second point, which is on-campus jobs and opportunities. We need to be able to highlight and make those opportunities visible for a lot of students. As an RA and other positions, a lot of people come to me and be like, hey Leo, what position can I work? What's available? I wish I could give them the answer, okay, these 5 positions are available right now, but it's not always like that. So we actually need to be a lot more visible on that to provide those opportunities to our students. Third,
Thank you, Leo. We'd like to move on to the next question.
Do we not have any time left? Do we not have any time left for this question?
We need to move on. We need to address more questions.
All right.
Good afternoon. My question was initially directed to Jerry, but I can open it to everyone. Maybe Jerry can start with the first answer. So I'm hearing a lot of things along the lines of this is wrong, SGA is wrong, something needs to be fixed, something obviously is not working. You are called to be representing SGA and to be talking from the point of view of SGA. I'd like to hear what are a few things, concrete things that you are proud of, what are the accomplishments from SGA that you know of and that you're proud of?
Could you repeat the last part of that? What I know of and I'm proud of?
Yes. A few accomplishments from SGA, a few things that SGA has done in the past year that you're proud of.
Well, like I said, I didn't run for this position because I'm particularly proud of anything that SGA has done in the past few years. I've run for this position because of the number of concerns I've heard about SGA for the past few years. And don't get me wrong, I'm not coming to this position inherently thinking that SGA must be an equal student organization that doesn't do anything right. I'm coming here with the perception that a lot of people think that that is the case. Now, this isn't my first rodeo. This isn't the first time where I've come from a position where I think the administration is doing something wrong and try to fix the entire situation. I'll give you a concrete example. Last semester, Keating Sports decided to revoke the rights of student organizations to reserve court space for a long time and to store stuff in Keating. And when that happened, everyone was really mad at them. You know, like we've had this right for like the last 5 years. Why are you suddenly taking it all away? But instead of complaining at them, I listened to the number of folks who are affected by this decision, and then I went to the Keating administration and I learned their point of view and how crowded the courts were getting, how hard it was for individual students to get a space on the court, and everyone was reserving it, how messy their storage room was getting, and I came to understand their point of view as well. And in the end, we solved the problem very well. Like instead of having student orgs being able to block out 2 5 hours every week, they instead ran a very organized line league tournaments in conjunction with Keating that was organized at a time that was much more convenient for everyone involved. Certainly, not everyone got what they wanted. Keating still had to give a court space, and student orgs couldn't meet exactly when they wanted anymore, but people still got some of what they want. I'm trying to accomplish the same thing. I'm seeing that there is a problem that the students see what's in SGA right now. The first step isn't to go in there and tear down SGA. My first step is to get elected and find out what SGA really is doing and how SGA sees the situation from a completely outside point of view, from an unbiased point of view, as opposed from a point of view of someone who's been on SGA the Senate for the past few years. I think that's why I'm qualified for this position, because I can go in there and look at this problem from a different perspective and change it from the ground up if need be.
Thank you. Last question?
This is for all of the candidates. What is your opinion of the ideal role of SGA in the business of student organizations? There was some talk today about the fact that student organizations typically are approved by SGA and then have no interaction ever again. But what is your ideal vision of the interaction of SGA with student organizations? What shape would it take?
Yay! Personally, I feel like SGA, like if they approve organization or even organizations that are already here on campus, SGA should be about as many events as they possibly can. So if ASO is having a get-together and is open to all the students and everyone, events from SGA should be there, not just to support and participate in the event, but also to say, hey, we're SGA and we're here to just be around the students. I feel like SGA should be at different events, they should be on the bridge, they should do interactions with the student organizations. If student organizations are having events and we see the flyer, we should check in and say, hey, you guys have anything you need? Do you need any help? How else can we help you to promote your event? I think it should be, like, SGA doesn't really put on events besides like the forums and the president and the public safety forums. So like major events like parties or get-togethers and that kind of thing. So I feel like that is an avenue for SGA to get involved with the students and to see what's going on and go to different diverse aspects of the campus and kind of learn more about the student body that way.
Role and then Leo.
Okay, so as the person that made the comment as to how we can continue the relationship between student organizations and SGA, I am going to be putting my own to some extent. So I said there's a disconnect because immediately after approval, the only thing SGA requires from student organizations is for them to submit supporting documents. thank you all for coming. I just wanted to tell you something that I observed. On this part of something, there is bad feedback. The voices of the candidates are much clearer around this part. So if you can't hear the candidates clearly, I would strongly suggest moving towards this side. Thank you.
Before that, and continuing, I'm a member of WIIT. I moved up from just a DJ to music director to station manager. I'm currently the secretary for the Residence Hall Association. I'm a writer for TechNews, focusing on campus issues and covering topics that I think that students would want to know in terms of transparency, different meetings that go on at the school. And I'm also part of a group that's trying to revive Illinois Tech Model Railroaders. Though I'm not personally involved in leadership of the group, I'm trying to help them organize and get together.
I'm a third-year psychology student. I am a finance board advisor. Before that, I was involved in Senate as a senator and the vice president of student life. And I'm also an RA and a student advisor for OCL.
I'm Jeremy. Currently third-year aerospace student. I was a senator last year for Armor College and now serve on the exec board as events coordinator. I'm involved in other stuff on campus, Greek life, med life, student gift, things like that.
Thank you. We're going to get started with the first question. What is something that each of you has done that you believe has brought the greatest impact to the students of Illinois Tech? We're going to start with Sonia, Soren, and then Jeremy.
Greatest impact is an interesting way to put it, because I feel like I've done something that has more widespread impact, which would be trying to get the senators on the bridge this semester. And that was an idea I pushed and worked with Mete to put up. And that's something every week it impacts little students, few at a time. So you can't see like a great impact right away. My freshman year as a senator though, one project that I think impacted separate groups specifically was turning one of the heating rooms into a dance room. So while that may not have impacted certain other individuals, it really helped any dance organization, any mixed martial arts organization, anyone that wanted to practice essentially a room with mirrors.
Thank you.
I'm going to echo Sonia a little bit in terms of impact versus scale. I think that some of the things that I've done early in my term as a senator, I met with Dean Betts of the College of Science, and I met with Patty Cronin, who is the marketing director for the College of Science. And in my meeting with Patty Cronin, we discussed the fact that her marketing department doesn't really have a lot of contact with students and doesn't really know how to get in contact with students. So I connected her directly with science-based student organizations and students who were making a difference on campus, sort of related to the college. And I think that in terms of the college's future and its marketing materials, that was a large impact. But I think that in my position in RHA, I've always pushed for increased communication with the student body. I am currently secretary. I run the Residence Hall Association email account. We've started sending out newsletters. We've been communicating a lot more this year. And in terms of connecting students back to those who are agents of change in the university, I think that that's a major role that's made a wide impact.
So something really cool that I think we've done this year in SGA that I've been able to have a hand in was we introduced something called town hall forums, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with that. But I was able to work a lot with VP Leo and other people on the exec board to actually make these things happen. this year, which have been really impactful, I think, for the student body and giving more people access to administration. So for those of you that don't know, these forums were held and have been held. We've had 2 of them so far, and a third hopefully coming up later this semester, over the MTCC Welcome Center. And basically, so the first one was on public safety. So it gave students the opportunity to ask questions directly to a panel of public safety officials, dean of students, people like that, where they can directly have the questions answered and give ideas to administration how to solve issues on campus.
Thank you. Next question. Your position as Executive Vice President involves being the middleman between the Senate and the Exec Board or the administration. How will you handle situations where you disagree strongly with the decision that the Senate has made? Jeremy first, Soren, and then Soren. And just as a reminder, you have about 60 seconds to answer these questions.
So I think it's really important. As the Exec VP's role in Senate is to chair the meeting, and I think it's really important, whatever decision that Senate makes on an issue, I think it's important to present a unified front on it. So if there is, if all the senators vote and a decision is made in Senate, I don't think it's in the position of the Exec VP to openly disagree with that decision, just because it's their job to chair the meeting. And I think that Senate presenting a unified front on decisions is important as well, and the decisions that are made. So I think that when it comes down to presenting ideas to administration, like you asked, and communicating things to exec board, if it seems necessary to express, my own opinion about something, I can do this see fit. But I think generally it's better to push for the ideas that the Senate has decided on and not, my own personal opinion.
Thank you. Sorry.
I believe that the role of the Executive Vice President as a communicator and as a connector within the Senate is very important and should focus on making sure that all students are represented. I think that in general, the Executive Vice President's role should be, like Jeremy was saying, just to connect different people to make sure everybody's talking to each other. I don't think that personal opinion should ever play a role in the day-to-day runnings of the position. But I think that there is a time when the Executive Vice President should step forward and say something to change the course of discussion. And that particular time is when there are projects happening in SGA or discussions happening in SGA without taking different stakeholders into account. When you have a project that started that impacts student organizations without talking to those student organizations first. I think that as an encouraging role to make sure that students' voices are being heard and being advocated for, the Executive Vice President has a very important role to play.
So we're all essentially kind of on the same agreement that as the Executive Vice President, you should be the one as a moderator to say if all of Senate is agreeing on something, you can't just push for your own personal opinion, because in that state, you're not really leading this group of people, you're not representing them. But at the same time, like Soren was pointing out, you are not only the moderator and the one who relays their opinions, but you're also the one who has to provide a voice of reason when necessary. A Senate does seem to be going on a track, or they all seem to be focused on a way that maybe necessarily isn't considering both sides of an argument, both sides of a situation, everybody involved. You need to be the one who steps in and says, make sure that we address and are concerned about all aspects of the situation, while still in the end, whatever decision is made, come up with that front, because SGA needs to come up as like one being one source, otherwise it will look like a mess.
Thank you. So the next question is, a lot of students keep saying that there's this disconnect between SGA. We've talked about this a lot already today. How do you see your role as Executive VP impacting that process, or what do you think you in that position will do to actually bring about? We'll go with Soren and then Soren.
So I believe that there needs to be a refocusing in the Senate on representation. I think that the Executive Vice President is in a very good position to set the tone for the Senate and to make sure that our senators, when they are making decisions, are always consulting with the students they represent. generally in their colleges, sometimes in special organizations like Residence Hall Association that have a senator assigned to them. I think that the executive vice president has a duty to make sure that students are being consulted from outside the Senate. Because sometimes there are people who will say things like, well, if you want to make change, come to a Senate meeting. But that's what the Senate is there for. The Senate is supposed to represent students, so students don't have to come to those meetings. And I think that we should focus very closely on senators being true representatives.
Is because of the concern of lack of communication or a need for greater communication between SGA and the student body. The senators are a powerful source. They are representatives of all of these colleges, of all the student organizations. But unfortunately, sometimes when we tell them, you are representatives, they may not know how to act upon that. I was a senator before, and I knew the vagueness that kind of came along with that. You were just told, represent your college, represent these student orgs, just talk to as many people as you can without maybe necessarily a direct output or suggestion of what can they do to get these feedback. And I think implementing certain things such as having senators on the bridge every single week is a direct communication with the student body. Saying that senators are assigned to some student organizations, go to at least one event per semester for these 5 organizations means that, like, reach out to the student organizations are solidified concrete things that senators will know that, okay, this is how I can reach out to others, this is how I can get the opinion of everybody else. Because as Soren said, their job is to be the representative force, but they need guidance as well as to how can they do that without so much vagueness and burden put on their shoulders of, you should just be able to do this on your own, like, how will you go and do this? There's flexibility, but also direction.
Thank you, Sonia. Jeremy?
So I think it's really important that SGA not be this black box where some sort of ideas come in, no one knows what happens on the inside, and then people see the end result. And I think we've been doing a better job about this this year especially, just in the fact that now we are live streaming, recording, uploading all our Senate meetings and allowing students who don't want to come to the meetings to, if they want to find out, hey, why did this decision get made? Hey, what was discussed? They can go online, they can see all those, points that were made and why the decision went the way it did. So I think that's a really important aspect of that, and it's really going to help nurture the connection between SGA and the student body. There really shouldn't be that divide there, and having SGA as just kind of like this shell that no one knows what goes on inside is not the way to do it. People should be able to know all decisions that are being made. People should be able to know who their senators are, who to communicate to, like Sonia said earlier. And so I think that really can come down to a lot of visibility and also just, encouraging senators to get themselves out there and, of course, people on campus to, learn more about what students want.
Thank you. So the next set of questions are going to be to individual candidates, and you'll have about 90 seconds to answer these questions. We're going to start with Sonia. You mentioned in your candidate packet and also at this debate that the important issue you would like to tackle if elected is increasing SGA's communication internally and externally. What is your plan to increase communication internally in an effective manner?
So, being on 2 different branches of SGA, I have gotten a chance to see what kind of communication is going on currently between the different branches. What I've noticed is a lot of times Senate is the face of SGA, which makes sense because they're open meetings, it's easier to see, it's bi-weekly, easy to be the face, but in that sense, a lot of times the other 2 branches are kind of forgotten about, or they're not communicated effectively. Before this year, it used to be that updates about SGA were reported at Senate meetings. The Senate meetings were sent out to senators, but Finance Board and Judicial Board wouldn't get them. Now, after working with Mete, we've had communication so that updates are sent out to all SGA, like Judicial Board, Finance Board, Senate, executive members, everybody, so everybody's on the same page. Communication like this needs to continue on so that it's not just Senate's doing their own thing, Finance Board's doing their own thing, Judicial Board's doing their own thing. We need everybody to know what's going on. So have people more motivated within the different branches to know other branches, but also breach that communication to like make that connection that not necessarily is there when they're separate entities.
Thank you, Sonia. Next question will be to Jeremy. You also mentioned in your candidate packet that increased communication with student organizations is something you would like to work towards. Why do you think that your position as Executive Vice President is the best way to accomplish this goal and not through any other means on SGA?
Yeah. So I think, so when I said increasing communication with student organizations, a lot of what I've seen over this past couple of years working with SGA is a lot of students in student organizations and things are having problems with finance bill proposals, with not understanding like a lot of the way that SGA works with student level approvals, things like that. And I think that it really should just be senators and the exec board working together to try and find out what student orgs need. It's not as much important to try and get people, into student orgs to try and work with them. I think that what we tried in the past was we had senators assigned to specific student orgs, and a lot of students orgs just didn't really want to use the resource because they didn't have the need for it. So a lot of student orgs don't need the help, and that's fine, and we shouldn't force that upon them. But the student orgs that do, it's really important to provide a channel for that to happen, and I think just increasing communication in that way, and really in this position, Executive VP in specific, you really hold a lot of power to encourage the senators and encourage the members of SGA and all the volunteers, encourage them to try and pursue that, encourage them to really get engaged with the orgs that need help and ask for help. Because there was really both sides of the ticket. Orgs kind of didn't want help, and then the senators weren't motivated at all. A lot of the senators didn't even approach the orgs that they were supposed to approach. So the motivation needs to be there right off the bat as well.
Thank you, Jeremy. Soren's questions next. You work with a lot of different student organizations, some of which you mentioned, some of which are affiliated with SGA or are affected by SGA, and some of which are not. How will you handle conflict of interest when decisions that are made by SGA affect those other organizations that you are on the leadership of?
So I believe that the executive vice president position is to be taken very differently than almost any other position in SGA or on any other organization. And I think that its only role at the core of it is to be an advocate for the students in general. I am involved in many organizations, some of which have been both negatively and positively impacted by SGA decisions, and I have filed
meeting that they missed. After the first meeting, you need to contact them right away. What was the reason for missing? After the second meeting, there needs to be a mandatory face-to-face meeting, we need to discuss what is going on. Can you tell me what concerns? Why are you missing these meetings? Is there a legitimate reason, a medical reason, a personal reason? Or is it you're losing lack of interest in SGA? How can we help you? And how can we help you understand how important your role is and how important it is to come to these meetings? It is getting to that stage. I feel like very few senators, if they were outreach to, would be willing to do that job and does care enough to do it. Thank you so much.
I think in terms of procedure, I'd like to echo both Jeremy and Sonia. You want to communicate as early as possible. This is something that we already do in WIIT. We have a 3 strikes and you're out policy for missing shows. And it works really well. If you check in with somebody the first time they miss a show and you ask them what's going on, you often get an honest answer. There was just a test you were studying for or something. And you can work with that person to make sure that they understand the nature of their commitment and that they are committed to it. Now, I think that the question is broader than that, though. I think that we need to create a culture in Senate where every senator understands the importance of their position and that every senator is focused on being a representative of their college or of their organization. And I think that if we do that and we make sure that our Senate is reporting back what it's done, and SGA becomes a much more public body in terms of reporting the results of its projects, we will over time build more interest in the Senate and we will have more motivated individuals in the Senate in the first place.
Thank you, sir. Next question?
Next question is,
this question is for Sonia. I have three important issues that I have with your campaign personally. First one is you mentioned that you have been very involved in the Senators on the Bridge project, but as far as I'm aware, from the last year, it has been advocated by the Communications Committee and mostly solely been a collaboration between Mete, the Exec Vice President, and the Vice President and the Communications Committee. What exactly was your role in that, and how can you say that you have been very involved or put a lot of effort into it? Do you want me to go over all three issues first, or do you want to address them one at a time?
I'll answer them one at a time so that I can. So I would say that the idea of the Senators on the Bridge was something that I had brought up when I was Vice President of Student Life. When I was working with the other two Vice Presidents, I tried to push that from even there, a year ago. The idea was the one that I brought forward. I'm saying the execution was definitely a big communications. You guys did a great job with executing it. I brought the idea forward to the Executive Vice President, the President. I talked to every Vice President about this idea too before it was implemented, saying why I felt it was important, why I felt that Senate should do this. But because it was not my place, I was not the VP at the time, I was not a senator at the time, I wasn't as involved when it actually got executed, but my position was pushing as hard as I could to get the idea in place. Once it was in place, I think it was more on the free reins of, you understand, you thought the same thing, that it was also a good idea, and you took the reins to make it the best you could, and I think that's when I met. My involvement was mostly with presenting the idea and pushing its importance.
Anoopa, may I go further the other two? Okay, the second issue I had with the campaign was, you said there's lacking in inter-SGA communication between the three branches. But my question is, why haven't you used the avenues that Communications Committee and myself have created for that connect to happen? Like the Slack is not used by Finance Board, and as a member of Finance Board, you have not advocated for it. I have personally invited Finance Board members to Senate meetings, and the live stream is always available, but you have been one of the people who have said, why don't if senators don't come to Finance Board meetings, why should we go to Senate meetings? And thirdly, why haven't you really, when we restructured the Senate hearing to cater to Finance Board representatives better, I haven't seen you in any Senate hearings either. So why haven't you worked on it in the Finance Board's side? But now that as Executive VP, you won't really have that power in Finance Board, you expect to fix that problem.
So I'd like to say one of the main reasons I didn't continue with Senate this year was because I was no longer able to make the Senate meetings. There were the times that I couldn't make anymore, which is why I couldn't attend as a Finance Board advisor to any of the Senate meetings to give my opinion. That being said, when I wanted to push the communication, it wasn't just for me as an individual to come to Senate meetings. The organization was that for other Finance Board members too. I was advocating for everybody, not just me. In terms of Slack, I have heard about Slack being used, but I'll be honest in saying that there wasn't as much, I wouldn't say training, but like communication of how can it be used or what are the benefits. I had tried Slack before, but again, I was on the executive board a year before, and the way it was used at that time, it wasn't used as effectively. We didn't use it well, which is why I didn't use it as much this year, because I didn't know how to use it effectively, and I didn't even know that other Finance Board members were invited to it. That's something that I wasn't aware of. So when it comes to me trying to push for the bridging between the branches, it's not just a personal thing. I have to advocate for the branch itself. So you made a comment about why I said, why should Finance Board members go to Senate if senators don't come to Finance Board? I would like to say, I think you misquoted me slightly. I said, why should Finance Board members be required to go to Senate if senators aren't required to go to Finance Board? And I think that's very true. If people have a passion or they are not able to if people have a passion or an interest and want to, they should go to Senate. If I could make it to Senate, I would. I've watched it live streamed a couple times, and I've been engaged that way because I couldn't make it. But I don't believe that it should be that you're forcing people to go and attend meetings that possibly they will tune out the entire time, possibly they don't care at all. They should go because they have the interest and care to make that effort to bridge communication.
I'd like to clarify that there's an invitation and not a requirement.
Thank you. We have to move on to the next person with questions. You can talk to Sonia afterwards. Thank you.
So speaking of calling out of sitting in these meetings, the efficiency of Senate meetings, if we can talk about that. I think Senate wastes a lot of time, a lot of potential productive time, like doing student org reviews, and it takes up half, sometimes hours of Senate meetings that could take place in a separate committee meeting or some other more efficient process. How can we make Senate meetings more efficient?
Is this a question to all candidates?
This is a question to Sora and anyone else who wants to answer.
I'll go ahead, since I am Sora. So, I think that the mere fact that the Senate meetings take a long time is not necessarily a detriment. I think that if that time is used effectively, it can absolutely be a hugely positive thing for the school. And I think that if Senate understands that they have a commitment to that body and that they are willing to put that time in, it can be a hugely positive conversation. That said, there have been times in the past when certain conversational rules haven't been put in place effectively or used effectively to make sure that that conversation is efficient and that we're not just going back and forth on the same thing for a long time. Now, the second half of this semester, Mete, our current exec vice president, has put in place a simple set of rules, similar in principle to Robert's rules, but not nearly as complicated because obviously we don't want to alienate people coming into the room. But I think that if you've been watching the Senate meetings recently, Mete's version of speaking rules has actually been very efficient and has led to some very good discussions without going in circles. And I think that I'd like to continue with his set of rules.
Thank you, sir. We're going to move on to the next question.
This is addressed to everyone. It's a bit of a personal issue. I've been talking to several people about proposing an amendment to the Constitution saying that someone should have some experience on the board to run as a chair or as president, right? It's a little bit like getting hired straight out of college for a management position. Meanwhile, you have no idea what people are doing, when they're doing it. So, I want to hear your personal opinion about that, because Jeremy, you did mention that the position, the exec VP position is a key one to encourage, not manipulate, but encourage senators to do their job, right? I want to hear your opinion on that.
I kind of missed a lot of what you're saying. I couldn't hear the mic very well. Yeah, can you repeat it? Just like try to.
I'm thinking of proposing an amendment to the Constitution saying that someone should have some experience on the board, whether it be something as technical as the finance board or the SGA or judicial board, in order to run as chair or president.
In order to run for executive or president.
In order to run as chair of the finance board, president of an executive position.
Okay. So, just you kind of want my thoughts on what I think about the amendment. Okay. So the amendments are made as like where it works by SGA bylaws, and all the amendments to the bylaws and constitution are made by the judicial board chair. So that's something in the executive position I wouldn't be able to do, but I'd be able to talk to the Chief Justice about that amendment. As of how I feel about it, I'm not sure. I think the experience is really valuable, and I think it's valuable to have going into that position. So if you're going to be finance board chair, yeah, it would be extremely valuable to have experience on finance board. But the part that's holding me back from saying that I think that's a good idea to add in the Constitution is just because you're significantly narrowing down the number of people you can really choose for that position. So if you have 10 people on finance board and then someone comes into the school that would be excellent in that position, now you have a bylaw there that says they cannot hold that position, even though they could be the best candidate. And I wouldn't want to have a situation like that happen. But I think that expressing the fact that you have had a lot of experience, you've been on finance board, would really help your campaign. in running. So I don't know if it would be necessarily a good thing to have in the bylaws or constitution, but definitely something to be encouraged when running for a position. You know, experience is really important. So, on the fence.
Thank you. Do you guys have any comments to add? Soren?
I would not be in support of such an amendment. I believe that there are situations in which somebody comes in and let me rephrase that. I believe that there's a possibility somewhere down the road when SGA could be completely disconnected from its students. Not in the way that many people say it is now, but like truly, severely, just in its own world, completely disconnected. And I believe that requiring somebody to have some sort of experience, be it with an executive board in general, or more strictly with SGA, or any sort of limitation like that could be harmful for getting good candidates into these positions. And I think that it should ultimately be up to the students to determine who has the right balance of experience and vision to be put into these positions. And I wouldn't support that amendment.
So initially, I had similar mindset to what you did, because I've seen where people would try to propose for things, or people would complain about something and try to run for big name positions, thinking they could change everything, because they did not know what currently was in place. They didn't come to anything to know what was involved, what was the organization itself like, because I think in some aspects, people do forget that SGA is an organization. If you want to run for a chair of an organization, you have to remember that there's going to be so many people that you're governing as well. There's going to be all these people that are going to be looking to your experience, your guidance, your values, your rules, to see what can you do. And that's why I thought that if you never had experience in the position, that limits how much guidance you can give. That being said, I do recognize that there are circumstances where perhaps you transferred in, you were an SGA president of another school, or you were a president of another organization with a similar structure. Why should you be limited in that sense when you had experience that could be relevant, but because of the clause you can't do it? I think having some sort of experience is something that people should definitely understand how valuable that is. Like when you come here, when we talk about being senators, we can talk about the people we're leading, we understand how they feel, and the student body being in different outlooks, we understand how they feel.
Thank you. Last question, and then we're moving on to the next position.
So, the most important thing about being executive vice president is that you have to be the first follower. So, you might have your own plans, but you're meant to support the president. So do you see yourself as a good enough follower to make sure that you being like the executive vice president isn't going to hinder forward mobility of like your organization?
I think that you are very correct that executive vice president is principally an administrative role, but I wouldn't say it's the most important part of that position. But I do believe that I would very easily be able to transition into the position and work under the student body president, no matter who that person is. I've moved up through WIIT, through Residence Hall Association, through TechNews, with teams of very different people who I have never interacted with before being part of those organizations. And these teams are very effective teams. I'm very proud of the place that WIIT is in today. We didn't have an executive board established a year ago today, and now we do. And those are all people who I didn't interact with prior to its establishment. I believe that I'm perfectly able to support the president no matter which of these four great candidates get chosen as president.
Thank you, sir. Do you guys have anything to add? Sonia raised her hand.
So, along the lines of what Soren said, when you apply to run for this position, you should be very well in the knowing that this is executive vice president. The president presides over everyone, including you. I respect the president's position, I respect their job, and I respect the position that they play, which is why if I were to be executive vice president, I would respect their authority and also their views. You're supposed to be someone who works with the president, not just aimlessly follows them, do whatever they say, but provides feedback to their ideas, listens to what they say, and also, yes, sometimes executes things that the president says. In this position, while I was running, I understood that I'm not the person who's SGA. I have my role, I have my place, and I'm willing to work with the president.
Thank you so much.
So your question basically was taken here very well. Your question basically was like how well do you think we work with the president, knowing that. Okay. So I think that the executive, like you said, there's the three aspects to SGA. You have your judicial board, you have your finance board, you have your Senate, right? The president is the head of all three. And that's an important distinction to make, because it's your job as executive to it's your job to relay back, report to the SGA president, as your superior. But also, it's really important that the exec board as a whole works well as a team, and it's not entirely just straight down the line, like you do this, you do this, you do this, no questions asked. It's all about the teamwork. It's all about working well together. It's all about, because that's how you are productive. That's how things get done in SGA, which this year, we've had a great experience on exec board. We've all worked really well together, and we've been able to accomplish a lot. And I think that's something that's really important to continue in the future, that's been building up over the past year. Just really like the teamwork, and it's fine. I can jump. But I think it's important.
All right. Well, you guys all have about a minute of closing comments if you want to. We'll start from Soren and go down.
I have, through being not a part of SGA to begin with, and then being a part of SGA, I've always been an advocate for the students who I represent. As the head of WIIT, I've been an advocate for our DJs, making sure that they're informed about decisions we're making as an executive board. As part of RHA, I've been an advocate for people who live on campus, going to food advisory board meetings, going to RGL, suggesting improvements. My role has always been an advocate for students and to make sure that students' voices and their input gets heard. And that is why I'm running for this position. I wish for the executive vice president to be an efficient organizer of SGA's business and to be able to present SGA's business publicly and to be able to gather input from students, no matter what sources they choose to speak on. A rant on ITSC is just as valid as anything else. And I think that I would like to use the role of executive vice president to make sure that everybody is being heard and being listened to.
Thank you, sir.
I initially joined SGA my freshman year because I wanted to join something that can facilitate a chance for me to be able to make a change. After the 2 years that I've been in it, I no longer just want to do it where I can myself make a change, but I want to hope so that the organization itself can help make a greater change or greater impact. In this role, I think that I want to be executive vice president because the senators can really make an impact, SGA as a whole can make an impact, and it's up to us, it's up to this position to help increase communication, increase transparency within the organization, within the student body, with SGA, to help make it stronger, to help people understand that SGA can be a force that is great, can be something that is very useful to everybody, but only if we make it accessible and have that communication readily available.
Thank you.
So, like I said in my campaign package, and like I said earlier too, the amount of visibility that we've been able to increase with SGA this year has been really good. Like, it's one of those things where, like I said earlier, you don't want SGA to just be this thing that does things and no one knows what's going on and you just see the results of it. Like, that's garbage. You want the student body to know what's going on in SGA, and you want everyone to be involved. Everyone is in this room right now because they care about this campus and they care about improving student life here, right? That is why everyone is here. That's why everyone cares to listen to these speeches, and that's the important thing. That is what SGA is here to do. And so the executive's job, as per what it says in the bylaws and as per what I've seen over the past couple of years, the executive presides over Senate and handles finances. Those are more inwardly facing positions, or inwardly facing jobs. And I think a really good way to promote improving campus and to better the student body through this position is to really be that person that encourages the inside of SGA. Be that person that pushes and drives the senators to their job, to get out on campus, to talk to students, to figure out what this campus wants. And, if that encouragement can happen and we can get, what's better? One executive be running around campus trying to get all these ideas, or encouraging and getting 50 senators to run around campus and get all these ideas in. I think that's a way better way to handle it. And being this inwardly facing job already, like that, I think that is the way to handle this position. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to take about another 5-minute break while we get the next candidate, but we're done with the executive. Thank you. The next candidate is going to be the finance board chair. We have 2 candidates running, one of whom could not make it. So we'll have 3 questions that we're asking, some that are pre-decided questions, and we'll have a lot of time for any questions that any of you guys have.
The S should be a dollar. Should I do it? You do it.
Okay, so Sunny's ready. We're going to get started. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anoopa. I'm a 3rd year chemical engineering student, and I'm running for finance board chair.
First question. What is one thing you aim to change about the way finance board works, and what detailed plan do you have in order to make that happen?
That's a good question. One thing that I would really try to focus on if I become finance board chair is to create greater, is to allow the organizations to have all the resources they need. First of all, whenever there's changes in the guidelines or any kind of changes that we see, any changes in policies, we will communicate that directly to the student organizations as soon as possible. I would encourage student organizations to use all the resources available on campus. For example, a lot of organizations here on campus don't know that they can do fundraising through OCL. It's not something that they have to get directly from finance board. I would relay that information to all the student organizations so they do know that they have that opportunity to do so. I would continue encouraging organizations to find more sources for fundings, to check their department, anything early on. And I would definitely would love working with student organizations one-on-one much earlier for all the events. Not something that happens at hearing, during advising hearing where we hear about the events happening a week or 2 weeks before the hearing itself, but contacting the organizations semester prior just to make sure we know what they're doing, we are actively involved in what they're doing, and we can actually help them get to the step into advising so we can finalize what the funds they need for the hearing itself.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that timeline would look like? You said you would want to contact them a semester in advance, so what would that process look like?
Yes, it wouldn't be something formal where we would get advisors down and sitting down with them and do an advising session. That's what advising period is, followed by the hearing itself. I would contact organizations by email prior and say, hey, do any of you have plans for the next semester? Would you like to discuss this? Would you like to keep us updated? And see if they would reach out to us to help them get those plans started.
Okay, the next question is, having been on finance board already, you're aware of the internal workings of finance board and of SGA and how we're trying to deal with increased transparency. What is your position on increased transparency, by which I mean how much transparency do you think finance board in particular needs to have, and how do you intend to make it happen?
I'm in full support of the transparency issue. The reason for that is because a lot of times organizations want to know how we work. They just want to learn more about it, how decisions are made, why we're making certain decisions. So I would continue working on making sure that all hearings are open to the student so they can walk in and see the hearings. They wouldn't be able to make their comment, but if just sitting down and listening to how we work would actually help them learn more about our procedures, learn more about what we tend to do and what we don't tend to do, so we can increase communication in that sense. Could you repeat that one more time, the question?
Being on finance board, you're aware of the internal workings of finance board and of SGA and how we're trying to deal with increased transparency. What is your position on increased transparency and how do you intend to make it happen?
Regarding increased transparency, I would also like to have, after every hearing, I would plan on giving each student organizations a breakdown of what we give. We wouldn't give them a breakdown of what each organization gets because that's something that would be decided by the board later on. But I would show them how much money we had initially for that hearing, how much we budgeted for that hearing, and how much we allocated. Because sometimes sometimes organizations can tell by, there's X amount of dollars available in this fund, and we were given this much. Maybe we should wait for the next hearing or appeal later on, or appeal in any form of sense if there's any available funds or if there's not enough available funds for them to understand and for them to get a clear picture of what's happened during the hearing.
Thank you. One more question before we take questions from you guys. So if anyone has questions, you can start lining up right now. Next question is, if there's a guideline that you would want to change right now, what is it and why?
One guideline that I would like to change right now. I do not have an answer for that right now, so I don't feel like I have the position to answer that. So sorry about that.
Thank you. So do we have any questions from you guys for the finance culture?
How do you feel about live streaming the finance board hearings?
Regarding live streaming, I do think it's a great idea, but if members of our finance board advisors, members of the finance board feel uncomfortable with it, I don't think they should be forced to do it. I would definitely ask beforehand, every member, would you feel comfortable in doing it, and how far would you be able to go with it? And if they do not feel comfortable being live streamed, I don't think they should be forced to do so. I would highly encourage organizations to visit our hearings if they're open, since I'm going to try making them open. So we're trying to make sure that the organizations do have all the resources they need to attend the hearings to learn more about us. But regarding the live streaming, I think that's something we have to ask the board beforehand, before I make a decision regarding that beforehand.
Thank you.
Just a follow-up question. Why do you think members would feel uncomfortable with live streaming? What are some reasons members have brought up to not live stream?
Well, I can't say for sure what their personal reasons are, and I won't make any assumptions beforehand. But from what happened on the last hearing, the option of live streaming got brought up kind of suddenly. So I feel like a lot of finance board members were not prepared in advance to kind of get their feelings together or to get themselves mentally prepared for the live streaming. So I would personally ask them beforehand and then get some kind of system set up for them to live stream. So I want to answer regarding why they feel uncomfortable. Me personally, I would say for my perspective, I feel like sometimes organizations, if they move, I can't say that for sure. I've had organizations come up to me before regarding issues here and there. We've always discussed them pretty openly and in a very calm manner, so I think it's something that we can always discuss about, and if there's any issues with organizations afterwards because your face is being shown, it's something that we can deal with.
Thank you, Sam. Next question.
With the current duration of the finance board hearings, do you feel like they're either too long, too short, or the appropriate length to discuss all the matters effectively? Or do you feel maybe possibly matters could be discussed more effectively, or either that we're spending too short amount of time on things?
Regarding about how long we spend on each finance board hearing, I feel that we should spend as much time as needed for each finance board hearing. I know it's not a popular opinion within finance board, since a lot of board members understand that these hearings can go for a really long amount of time at length. However, since we're trying to allocate the funds as fairly as possible, as accurately as possible to each organization, I think we should give that time to put as much time as we need to for each organization. So regardless of time, we should just work on each organization as they come by, give them all the time that they need to get their proposal and allocations made, and then go on from there.
Thank you, Sam.
Is there a time for a follow-up question?
So one last question, and then we're moving on to
I really like the idea of live streaming the actual hearings, but if persons are feeling uncomfortable with that, could you probably propose another method that could actually enhance the transparency of finance board regarding like funding and how you're allocating it? Because I'm sure you're doing it fairly, or you're trying to do it fairly, but sometimes it's really hard for, I think, treasurers and also members of their organizations to be seeing things rejected when they feel in their hearts that there's no real reason for rejecting something if it follows the guidelines and rules.
Thank you.
Regarding any other alternatives, I cannot think of one right now. However, I would love discussing this in depth with as many people as possible with you afterwards even, regarding alternatives that could happen. Live streaming is one alternative that was brought up this semester in order to increase transparency. We've also opened up the hearings. We set up chairs for treasurers to come in. On the last hearing, actually, we had new treasurers who are moving or transitioning in, come to the hearing to learn more about the procedure so they can make proposals more efficiently for the future. So we're trying to work on making it so that organizations can be more involved in finance board procedures, and I would love to continue improving that in the future as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take like 2 minutes before the next candidates for VP of Student Life get set up. Thank you, Sam.
Woo!
That was my mistake. Yeah, VP of Academic Affairs is going up next. I apologize. VP of Communications will go after that, and then VP of Student Life will go.
Architecture, and I've been on the Senate for the College of Architecture for the last year. And I've been part of the Affairs Committee too.
So I'll get started with the first question. In your capacity as Senator for the College of Architecture, your reach was restricted to the College of Architecture and its students and the projects that you work on. How will you work towards hearing and understanding the concerns of students from different colleges, and how will you work on bringing those projects to life and implementing them?
That's a good question. I think the main idea here is to be able to communicate with the senators, because the senators are the ones who have a close relationship to the students of their respective colleges. And I think as academic affairs, as a committee as a whole, we are receptive to solutions from students from various colleges too, not just one particular school. And I also think that, closer. And I also think that it's the senators' responsibility to come up to us and tell us what concerns are there for the students. I think that's the most efficient way to deal with reaching out to every single college in one capacity.
Thank you. And as a follow-up to that, beyond your work with the committee or as a senator already so far, what qualifies you to manage an area of task or to manage the entire committee that you will be working with?
So I've been in the committee for a year, and we've had three different vice presidents for the position, and I've spoken to every single one of them in depth, and I've seen the way they work and the way they manage things. So I feel like I'm a lot more seasoned now than I was in the past to deal with this, to deal with these responsibilities. I'm also part of several on-campus student orgs, and I think that it's more about being receptive to student ideas, because it's not my job to have everything figured out, but it is my job to be able to facilitate platforms where students can actually bring about concerns and find solutions to them on their own. And I think that's the main goal here. I do have a seat in the university, in the Undergraduate Studies Council and the University Faculty Council, and I think that, it is the ideal place to bring about solutions or concerns that a lot of students have within the classroom, and it is extremely important to encourage students to voice their concerns, because if they don't voice their concerns, you will never know.
Thank you. So this next question is submitted online by a student, so it has an experience that they're talking about. In the basement of E1, there's a machine that costs roughly $1 million. Part of the money for the machine came from donors. This machine is critical in all aspects of the materials department research, yet it has tarps over it to collect the rainwater that falls through the ceilings of the basement. There are many similar situations on campus. Therefore, what will you do to ensure that students, both undergraduate and graduate, have resources available to them to achieve the main purpose that they attended IIT in the first place, which is to get a degree, and how will you go about achieving it?
So IIT is really well credited for its infrastructure. We've got a lot of facilities already in place on campus for students to use. I think it comes out of necessity, and we need to really understand why these machines are under there in the first place. So students, even if it's one student who has a general concern about this issue, they're more than welcome to post up on the Facebook page online or approach me, and we can get to the bottom of it. I mean, it's a solution that's a discussion, because the brain power doesn't lie with me or anyone in my committee, it lies with everyone on this campus. And I just want to facilitate the option of being able to allow them to speak up for themselves rather than always coming to SGA for issues. So it is our duty to provide resources for them, guide them, tell them where to go, tell them who to speak to, and find out the most efficient way to get from them.
Okay, as a follow-up to what you just said and to a previous response, you mentioned that you had seats on the university, the Undergraduate Studies Councils, and things like that. So it seems like you have a lot of communication with the administration aspect. In terms of getting students to actually contact or to reach out to you or to do things like that, how will you actually make that happen? Because we've all talked about communication a lot today and how it's important to bridge that gap, but how will you go about doing that?
Yeah, I think that's a concern campus-wide for SGA as a whole. It's not only my position, but it's the Vice President of Communications and Student Life, and even the President and It's something we've been working on, and we've definitely seen more progress this year than we have in the past. There is more interest taken up by students in what SGA is doing and the projects they're working on. And I think that we have to work together as an exec board to create a networking place for students to approach any senator or any VP. And we kind of work as a team. It's not an individual effort, in my opinion.
Thank you. Those are the questions that I have so far. If anyone here has any questions to ask, feel free to come up to the mic for the VP of Academic Affairs. We're going to give it a minute.
One question that I have for you is often senators feel discouraged to join academic affairs because that is the one committee that it's harder to see results right away. Like with communications or student life, it's easier to have some projects that you see results within a semester or two. How do you plan to draw senators or keep them motivated in their roles?
I think, so that's where we were lacking last fall when I came in, is that senators weren't tied to any specific deadlines to turn in projects. And that's a major issue I plan to tackle this coming year, is that we need to be more responsible for the projects we take on. And we can't just keep saying that, academic affairs projects generally take a long time. That's no reason to slack off. I think we need to start enforcing more deadlines and start asking senators to take credit for what they've done, and also, if they need help, they need to be vocal about it and not just silent about it. I think that needs to be encouraged among all the committees.
One more question. So that's the senator side. When it comes to communicating long-term projects or the progress of long-term projects, a lot of people, again, don't know, the student body doesn't know what's going on with academic affairs because there aren't tangible results right away for them to see. How do you plan on communicating with the student body what you're currently working on, what kind of progress is being made, and what you're looking forward to doing?
I will have to, honestly, I don't have an answer for you right away because we don't have the infrastructure or the system set up yet. What we do have on campus, we do have the bridge, we do have posters that we can put up regarding SGA. Students are welcome in the office, but it will have to work in tandem with the efforts that the exec board takes to start getting SGA out there, and that would be, I think, the ideal platform for students to realize, okay, this is what this committee is working on, and this is what academic affairs is working on.
Thank you.
Next question.
Just from this point of view that the VP of Academic Affairs has a lot of meetings and stuff to go to, you have experience with that because you filled in while there was no VP for Academic Affairs. How comfortable are you with delegating tasks to students so you're not the only one, who gets pulled in all directions, and then you don't have enough resources to help the students with their projects? So how do you plan on working on that aspect of the VP of Academic Affairs?
I will have to be fortunate enough to get a Senate body or committee who has a sufficient amount of time and dedication. I believe that I'm responsible for motivating them as well to certain projects. And this last semester with you as our VP, I think I've learned that the best way to be motivated is to have everybody involved in. So with everybody else's opinions coming into your project, I think you do feel that the spotlight is on you a lot more than it would be if you were just talking to the VP or if it was a one-on-one discussion. So I think we need to have a variety of opinions come in to motivate senators to start doing what they plan to do.
The last thing, it's not a question, it's more of a suggestion. Something I encouraged Soren to do this year was go to the UGSC meeting and report on it, UFC meeting. That's more of an academic affairs side of things, but being a former VP of Academic Affairs, and since we didn't have VP of Academic Affairs for some point, I had to go to that role. But I would encourage you to encourage, your senators to go up to these meetings, find out what's happening, get the word out, because a lot of times they do want students, but a lot of the times they do make decisions that do help the students, but don't come out. That's one thing. Second thing, you have access to the board of trustees that even the president kind of does not have, because you have the special academic affairs committee where you meet the board of trustees. And it's a really interesting meeting. You have a lot of impact over there. You can make a huge difference because in some way you are the deciding factor. Because if they decide on something and you say no, they will not do it. So I encourage you to take some senators there. Get some feedback before you go to those and use that opportunity wisely.
Absolutely. I think our strength also lies in our numbers, and you brought that up very successfully this last year, and I do want to continue with that effort.
Thank you all for your questions, and thank you all for questions. Next up are the candidates for VP of Communication.
Come, yeah! Woo!
If you guys are ready, we can get started. You each get a little bit of time to talk about yourselves. We'll start with Aaron and then
Hello. Thank you all for coming. My name is Aaron Eckert-Frank. I'm a third-year applied math student. Currently on campus, I am a volunteer for the Communications Committee, joined this semester. I'm a recent transfer to the institution, and I feel like a lot can be, feel like I have a lot to bring to the table.
Hello, my name is Jelani Canty. I'm a second-year computer engineer. I represent the College of Engineering as a senator. I'm pretty outgoing, easy to talk to, and I want to run for this position because I feel like we can do a lot of great things in the communications community.
thank you both. First question to both of you. What are some things that you've worked on through your time on the Communications Committee? And what kind of impact do you think they've brought to our Illinois tech community? We can start with Jelani and then go on.
Some of the things we've done on the Communications Committee, I know last semester during the fall, we organized the Holiday Hawks toy drive, and that helped me gain experience on what it was like to work with people on RGL, kind of have like a big campus-wide event. That really helped me gain experience as far as what it takes to be able to work together with the rest of the committee, to be able to delegate tasks. I learned a lot from Samardo, during those times about you know, what it takes to lead the communications committee. And this semester, we're working on more projects regarding connecting students and their orgs. So we're getting a lot of experience regarding these projects and how to delegate tasks and work with a group.
So, when I first joined on as a volunteer, at first I wasn't quite aware of what I could do as a volunteer, but since I've headed a couple of the communications projects. First of all, Communications Committee was the first committee this semester to do Center on the Bridge. I think it was extremely effective. Second of all, Jelani mentioned something about connecting students with orgs. I've taken it upon myself to start the process to create policy for senators to be representatives not only of their colleges but also of the student orgs, to try and get them to be more involved in SGA and to get a familiarity with SGA, to further open up what SGA is doing more than what they've had so far, to build on the things that we're working on.
Thank you. The next question is to Aaron specifically. You just mentioned and also in your candidate packet talked about your student org initiative and how that's going to help improve communication. Besides that project specifically, what do you think you can do to increase membership and involvement in SGA and in the committee specifically? And how do you plan on bringing students into these committee meetings and working on projects that they're passionate about?
So I think, in communication specifically, but I think this goes more about SGA in general. I think that volunteers like myself have great power in committees to get projects done. It was mentioned earlier in the debate that a common response to when a student comes to someone in SGA saying, "Hey, can I have this problem?" And they say, "Go to a Senate hearing," and how that's not quite effective. I think a better response would be, for that representative to say, "Hey, these committees are working on a project similar to that," or "Hey, this is a project that doesn't exist yet," and for them to take it upon themselves to come to the committee and start that project, and then rely on, and then go to their senators for things that are about that. So I would make sure to change the idea, or make it more acceptable for senators to feel okay with reaching out directly to their constituents and saying, "Hey, if you're interested, we need some people in my committee to work on this project," and get things done.
The next question for Jelani is, what would you do differently as a committee chair to increase the connection between SGA and the student body? So differently than the way it's being done now, or differently than the other candidates that are running? But what do you think you're bringing to the table that's going to set you apart from the other candidates?
I think that one of my best skills is being able to talk to people, not only through emails or messages, but also face to face. And I definitely push more of that as far as connecting with the student body. And I think that one of the things that I would change specifically is when we do exactly how we do Senators on the Bridge. I would make it more of you approaching other students that standing at the table and asking students to approach you. I would encourage face-to-face interactions between student org leaders and senators. I would also encourage senators to go out to the student orgs that they're involved with, their meetings, and talking to students there about what SGA is, because a lot of people don't even know what SGA is at all.
Thank you. So what my next question was originally going to be was something you kind of answered right now. But this was a question that we asked the presidential candidates earlier about whether or not they think that it's important for SGA to continually reach out to students and make them aware that they're a resource, or whether it's kind of up to the students to figure out that SGA is the resource to go to. So if Jelani has anything to add, you can, or since you kind of just answered that question, I want to give Aaron a chance to answer that as well.
So I think it's definitely important for SGA to reach out to students. However, since SGA is an organization that is supposed to be represented by the students, it's also important for students to go the other way. So I think it needs to be sort of a two-way communication between SGA and the students. I think SGA should be encouraged to reach out to the students and see what's going on. But I think it also should be more of the culture on campus that students can talk to SGA. So, as VP of Communications, I would work to make SGA seem more accessible. So it's very important that SGA reaches out to students now, and I think that's the step that we need to take currently. Due to the public perception of SGA, as we've sort of heard by some of the candidates in these debates, I think it's also important that down the line, after we sort of open up SGA, we sort of make it seem like SGA is or that students can come to it, they're feeling represented by it.
Thank you. Sort of as a follow-up question to that, do you see your role, to both of you, do you see your role as Vice President of Communications being to facilitate communication within your own committee and then within SGA, or more as a role between SGA and the student body? Or do you see that as just an entire SGA exec board thing?
So I think that it's under the purview of the VP of Communications to be sort of like to facilitate that. I think it's the responsibility of SGA as a whole to make themselves more open. But I think that it's important for the VP to sort of make sure that that's happening and sort of figure out ways that it can be done more efficiently. As for inter-committee communication, I feel like that's something that is a little bit more easily done by the VP of Communications just during the committee meeting. So.
Thank you.
I'm not really sure if this is one of the options you gave me, but I think it's the job of the Communications Committee to define what communicating with the rest of the school is for SGA. So it's not really the job of the Communications Committee to make sure that SGA communicates better towards students. It's the Communications Committee's job to lead by example on what we should be doing as far as communicating towards students.
Thank you. So I'd like to open up the floor now to questions that any of you guys have for the candidates. If you do, please come up to the front with the microphone.
Hey guys, so this is a question for both of you. I just want to hear the most sincere answer that you can give. What is your true motivation going into this position? What change are you trying to make? And just simply, why do you want to be the VP of Communications?
It might sound cliche, because this is what everyone says, but SGA is well known as far as throughout the entire student body. And my motivation for running for this position is diversifying the input for what changes our campus, getting more input from other people, which only comes from having new people as a part of our process. I believe that a large diversity of people can only lead to better things because we have different ideas and we have new ideas to develop from that. And so my motivation is just involving new people.
The question was, what my motivations are? Right. So, I believe that, this is sort of personal, but I believe that IIT has given me a second chance. I came from came from a school where I wasn't very involved. I feel like that school was giving me a lot of resources, but I wasn't giving back. And now that I'm here, I want to sort of change the philosophy. I want to be able to give back to the community in the best way possible. And from my experience with SGA, I found that SGA has a lot of resources and a lot of knowledge. And I feel like the best way for me to make an impact is for me to help to sort of disseminate that knowledge and make SGA sort of a better face in the student body. And I think that as VP of Communications, that's the best way for me to do that, to try and shape the face of SGA to show space.
Thank you.
Hey guys, this is a question for both of you. As you know, graduate student is lacking of connections to SGA in the time that we don't see that much of communication is established between SGA and the graduate student body of the campus. So as a VP of communication, do you have any specific plans or like what is your goal to shorten that gap between the student body and the graduate student specifically? Thank you.
So I think that graduate students make up a large percentage of the student body in IIT, and I think that's very important to reach out to the graduate students and make them feel like this is a campus for them as well. As for how to incorporate them further into SGA and make them feel like they're being represented. So as I mentioned previously, SGA has a lot of connections and a lot of resources. And I would I don't have those connections now to try and make graduate students feel more welcome. As VP of Communications, I feel like it would be easier to discuss with department heads and the administration to try and get a sense of where the graduate students are in terms of how they feel about the campus, and trying to reach out to specific graduate students about how they would like to be incorporated into SGA. Because I think as undergraduates, we don't really have a great sense for the graduate community. So it would be the first thing I would do is to be rude to and ask them sort of how do they feel about SGA now, and would they like to be included, and how would they like to see that happen?
I think that the first step in representing a body that isn't really represented right now is getting them involved in some way. I think a cool way to get graduate students involved would be through a mentorship program. Because a lot of times first year undergraduates don't know exactly, where they're going to be in the next few years. And so one way to get graduate students involved is to kind of be that mentor for those people. And then once we get them involved in that way, it'd be easier to generate feedback about what they want to see happen in the school.
Thank you. Thank you all for your questions, and thank you to the candidates. We're going to take a 5-minute break now and then move on to the case students. Thank you.
alphabetical. Come on. Not that hard.
My name is Elizabeth, and I'm currently a senator for the Armor College of Engineering. I currently serve as a committee member for the Student Life Committee for SGA, and I really love what our committee does, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to have a bigger role in our committee.
I'm sorry, can I have all of you also say what year you are?
Oh, yeah. I'm a first-year material science engineering student.
Thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Tom Nguyen. I'm first-year biomedical engineering student. I'm a senator of the Student Life Committee, a committee that I'm running vice president for. And as a senator, I've been delivering solutions to some of the problems that the students face. And by running for vice president, I believe that my committee will deliver the same thing. And that was the committee that I want to be the one who's managing of. It's the one who deliver the solutions that makes the student experience on campus better and more enjoyable every single day. Thank you guys for coming and supporting.
Can you repeat what year you were?
I'm a freshman.
Hi guys, I'm Adrian. I'm a first year mechanical engineer. I'm a volunteer on the Student Life Committee. And like Tung said, what we do at the Student Life Committee, we want to improve campus life and make sure everyone's having a good time on campus, whether they live in the dorms or commuters, whether they're a graduate student or an undergrad.
Thank you. So the first question is, in what capacity do you see your role as the Vice President of Student Life impacting our campus community, maybe in a different way than student organizations do? We'll start with Tom, Adrian, and then Alyssa.
So on the first day of being a senator of the Student Life Committee, I firmly believe that as a committee, we try to gather the solutions of the student body and the problems of the student body and provide solutions so that they will have a better times at IIT. And as a vice president, I will not just do it as a senator. I'm not just going to suggest solutions. I'm going to want who facilitate all the problems and also kind of direct which directions that student senators are going to go to provide, the best solutions so that it will be effectively impact the experience of the students on campus. And in the question to the answer of why is that different from the student organizations, I think Student Life Committee has the really general to the specific campus life of the students. We not just affect one aspect about food, which is not about campus safety, which is not about lighting, which is about everything. In the general scale, Student Life Committee covers a really, really macro perspective into guarantee that students have the best experience there as an IIT, and that's one of the things. strike me to run for VP of Student Life.
Thank you. Adrian?
So when people come to IIT, everything, it's like a new school for them. Everything's really awesome to begin with. They join student orgs, but over time they start to realize things they don't like, issues around campus, like Tung said, the lighting on campus, crosswalks, and student life committee should serve as a channel for people to come and be able to voice their concerns and areas for improvement that they want to do on campus. And as a student life committee, we're here to hear those complaints, not even complaints, suggestions for improvement, and we need to be able to execute that to improve campus life, not just when you first get to IIT, but all the years that you.
I believe that our student life committee has the power to really improve areas of our student life on campus. We have been involved in numerous projects this year, and as a senator on the committee, I feel that I have learned how the committee runs, what is required of the senators on the committee to get their projects done. We have become in very numerous projects around campus, like Chuck said, the lighting. We have worked with campus safety, we've done town halls with OTS and food, and we've just been really involved, and I feel as though our committee has the power to keep improving, keep increasing our voice and our impact on campus, and I think that we would be able to do that.
Thank you. So the next question is that as Vice President of Student Life, you would be dealing, like Tung mentioned, with a lot of different aspects of student life on campus, like dining, safety, facility improvements, student living, all of those things. So how do you see a relationship between you as the Vice President of Student Life and your committee and an office like Residence and Greek Life or Residence Hall Association, which are organizations that are working on similar issues? What kind of relationship do you see, if any, and how do you plan on enhancing that? We'll start with Adrian and Gordon.
So as far as like the public safety aspect, during the town hall we had with campus safety, I started building a relationship with one of the supervisors there. So that is already like an established connection I have that if I were vice president of student life, I would utilize that to get public safety, anything in regards to public safety, campus safety, addressed and fixed. And then with facilities, because I'm an employee at Office of Campus Life, and because of that, like we work with facilities to fix those things. One of the things now that I'm trying to fix is the clock that is behind the pool tables in MTCC. Yesterday I was given the contact information for someone from facilities to fix it, and that's a project that I'm now starting. And then as far as dining goes here on campus, I'm on the food advisory board. So I work with Sodexo for improvements in the Fog, Commons, Center Court, any food on campus. And yesterday actually I was able to get the ice cream section open till 7:15 instead of it closing at 7. Because people are still there after 7, so it'll be open until everyone leaves.
I see my connections with other offices on campus, such as OCL, public safety, or OTS, are that we're striving to achieve the mutual benefits the mutual benefits of enhancing the experience of the students. I don't see why that SGA have to like distinguish itself from other like offices, whereas we always try to come up with solutions for the problems. And for example, I know Bruce Watts, Mr. Watts has been constant support for my campus safety projects. I met with him twice since I've been a senator. We established professional connections towards the campus safety projects. And even though we faces multiple obstacles, we always try to deliver a solution, and we finalize it with the idea that we should have something to do with the sidewalks, and there will be something that a cautionary painting, a cautionary sign that will signaling pedestrian that there's a car coming up, and then we want to prevent unfortunate incidents that happen to multiple students on campus throughout the year. And I've honestly say that our office on campus, I really welcome SGA and also students, not just SGA, students, the very students are sitting on this air right now to talk about their ideas, to talk about their concerns so that we can fix it. Not just because we are SGA that we can dictate whatever we want. No, it's not true. Adrian here is not saying that he's a student just like you guys, but he's able to go with us and see that to participate in the project with us because we have the openness and we have the the relationship that in the end we protect the benefits of the students, and we want to establish their connections. And that is my goal when we come about IVP of the student life, is that we open with any sort of connections with professionally with office, to our friendliness with the students, and at the end we get things done.
Thank you.
Back to the question, our relationship with RHA through SGA, I believe should be strong. I believe that people from RHA, we should have representatives on the committees in case people are working on similar projects and they want to get together and be able to work on things together, because power in numbers. If you have more than one person who's trying to get things done, it makes it easier on every person, and you can get more things done, more accomplished, it's more power. And I believe that the relationship should be strong because we are working on similar projects, and that's just more unity within the school and more connections. People in RHA, they know where to go if you have a problem with anywhere in residence halls and Greek life and things like that. But SGA knows the connections with faculty, we know the connections with Vice Provost, Dean of Stats, we know people to contact if you have issues, and so does RHA. So that relationship between the two organizations, I believe, would be a really strong connection for both SGA and RHA.
Thank you. The next question is to all three of you again. You're all freshmen, which means that your experience with SGA, even if it's been since last semester, is fairly limited. What experience or what skills do you bring that don't involve SGA that you think would help you do a good job at this position? Start with Alyssa.
I believe that I'm very good for this position because I have a lot of leadership under my belt. I was involved a lot in high school, and I've been in SGA. I currently hold a position for my pledge class, my sorority. I'm a leader on my lacrosse team, and I believe that I hold a lot of leadership positions. I'm ready to take a larger role in this committee. This past year, I've been very involved in a lot of different things, working out my time management skills, and next semester I will have the complete dedication to this committee in order to really make it prosper and put time and effort into this in order to make our committee more powerful and impactful on campus.
Thank you.
Besides SGA, I'm also involved in the Tech IT of 2016, where I hold a chair positions in one of the committees, and one of the responsibility that I hold is that I have to deliver the sponsorship for the event on April. And that being said, when I sign up for that positions, I'm responsible for delivering what the needs of the job is. And that is the kind of skills that I want to bring up to the table of the VP of student life, is that we have the responsibility to carry out to carry out and to solve the problems of the students, and we have the responsibility to get it done. No matter what you do, if you can get 100% done, do 50%, and then another 20%, another 20%, another 10%, and then the other one. At the end of the day, you get things done. Also, besides from my positions at TechNews 2016, I also held multiple members. I'm a member of a USF IIT, in which I learned how to communicate effectively on the skills of the group, and that's the skill set that brings me to the table, because as a VP of Student Life Committee, you dealing with the student body to help them, but you also learn, you also need your communicating skills to be effectively talking to insiders to get the job done most effectively, and to solve the internal issues, so that the relationship between the senators and the VP, and also the relationship between the senators itself, does not affect the ultimate goal of the Student Life Committee. And
thank you.
So I'll start off saying what I'm involved with. I'm on an Illinois Tech's union board. I'm on SGA. I'm a committee member for the student gift, vice president of ski and snowboard, RHA, a few others. But I don't think the position or your involvement on campus really matters. What matters is why you're doing what you do. And I'm involved around campus because I want to improve everyone's life here, because college, it's 4 years, maybe 5 if you're an Archie. God bless you guys. Your time's short-lived here, and if you don't have a good time when you're here, you're gonna look back on it. You're gonna look back on all the student loans, and you're like, was it worth it? I do everything I do on campus because I want people to graduate and say, yeah, it was worth it. I had a great time when I was here. And I think if I was vice president of student life, I'd be able to do a great job at that.
Thank you, guys. Anyone else who has questions can come up and ask candidates now. We'll give it a minute.
Okay, so one problem that we all face is that we do get student interest that they do want to do stuff, but when it comes to actually not just SGA students, but students who are not part of any organization, they want to make changes and they just don't show up. So how do you work on improving student life by actually engaging the student body and encouraging them to be part of more projects, and not necessarily for any positions, but just to improve student life?
So Soren mentioned earlier in the executive vice president debates that we have to take a rant. So when someone rants out on the Illinois Tech Student Community Facebook page, we have to take that seriously. We actually have to acknowledge the issues that they talk about. So providing, again, an outlet for them to be able to voice their opinions and concerns about the school. And this outlet needs to be available, but we can't just have this available and not capitalize on anything people say. It needs to be available for people to use, and we have to act on what they say. Another thing is a lot of the events that organizations hold on campus, the only people that take advantage are people that live on campus and undergraduates. 70% of IIT is grad students, and even more than that are commuters. And there's so many events that happen late at night, like when the bogs open, and these commuters and people that don't live on campus aren't allowed to take advantage of it. So what I would want to do is be able to make more events on campus that not just people living on campus can take advantage of, but everyone can take advantage of.
Thank you. If you guys want to add comments, you can, but we also have a bunch of other questions. So I said if they have comments to add, they can.
I believe that if we want to engage students, we need to find students who are passionate about what they want to do, and we need to work with them and help them, facilitate them in what they want to do with their projects. And if they want to start a student org, we need to direct them to the right people so that way they can get their organization up and running. And I believe that, like Adrian said, if we see people on the student community page, if they're ranting, talking about something that they are complaining about, or they have suggestion, it's not just whether or not we act on it, it's that the students see that we are acting on it, and that makes them want to be more involved. It makes them see that we actually care about what they say, and I feel like that would facilitate a relationship between the students and SGA and help with that sort of trust.
May I have a chance to answer that question?
Yes.
So I believe that if the student, for some reason, would not be able to make it to the commitment that we need them to be, I also believe that we have to take the responsibility to bring the tools and resources to the students. That's why town hall is there for students to come in and talk about the solution without actually coming to the meetings. They just have to stop by, asking the administration, "Here's my problems. What do you think about it? What is your plan to solve it? And then what is your plan to make myself, make my experience here better?" That's why you have senators, those who represent your college, those who you can talk to, those who are your friends who also have some responsibility to deliver and to carry your message to the Senate, to talk about it and to actually do something about it. And my point of running for VP of Student Life is that I want to make sure that my senators carry the message of their people. Make sure that my senators actually do things that positively impact the life of the student here, and whether or not you cannot make a commitment to actually attend the meetings, or you cannot make it, there will be some sort of, even regardless of how small sort of connection is, I was trying to make it so that the student don't have to spend that much time and effort, but they also can have their voice heard by the student body, by the SGA and the administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Hey guys, first off, I'm proud of all three of you for really stepping up and running for this position for student life. Now for my question. What ideas do you have to really increase student life among commuters? Because as a fellow commuter, I understand that it may be hard for them to get involved in student life and involved in this campus in general. So what ideas do you have in regarding commuters?
So like I mentioned,
Can we have Tom go first?
So, in regard to commuters, I think one of the main restriction for you guys is that the geographic locations, right? So, one of the things that I said that I believe is that in order to make commuter students actually engage on the process on campus, there's two ways of doing it. The events should be held, on a position that is actually accessible for middle students, which is on the morning or the afternoon when actually present on campus. On the other hand, I think that the necessity of establishing a connection throughout network, throughout non-geographical, viable access, so that commuters can just go online and say that, hey, this is my this is what I feel that we need to change, or this is what I feel that we need to solve, or one of your own senators, Mr. Gordon, he is really actively on solving the issues of parking on campus during exams, because he feels that the need of community students to stay on campus during exams is really critical, so that we only put the benefit of community students on top of on top of the other students, not like on top, but like on top of his list, so that I believe there will be one day or another that so we can satisfy the needs of the community students. And I hope that answers your question.
Either of you guys have something to add?
Like Tom said, definitely parking and events need to be improved for student commuters in order that they can be involved and they can be more facilitated on campus. Also, one more thing to add to that would be more broadcasting events. If you're a commuter student, most likely you're coming here, you're going to park your car, you're going to go to your class, you're probably going to go back home, you're not going to be walking through MPCC, look at all the posters around of all the things going on campus. You might not go to Keating in order to see what's going on with intramurals. I feel like we need to have more of a advertisement for things going on campus so commuter students can know about them, be more involved, so that way they can be actively more participating in our student life on campus.
so going off of what Alyssa said with like events going on campus, we should be able to, we need to teach student orgs how to use the university calendar, how to add their own events to the university calendar. And with the university calendar, you'll be able to sync it to your phone, sync it to your Google Calendar, and all the orgs events, all the intramurals will be in one easy accessible location. So if you have your lunch break on a Tuesday, say, and you want to see what's going on, you can attend the Model United Nations meeting. On Thursdays, a union board meeting, Wednesday nights, SGA, like something where you can check and you can see what's going on at campus at all the times for every day of the week.
Thank you guys. Last question?
So, one of the most important things knowing that going for the position of Vice President of Student Life, you're going to have a committee of senators who are going to be working with you. And it's going to be your responsibility to assist them and mentor them through the process of them being senators, and whether it's the projects or just practicing their rights as senators. So my question for you is, there's always obstacles and struggles for every single senator trying to do their projects. What would you, as the Vice President of Student Life, do to support them? Anything you can think of on the top of your head right now, what advice would you give them? What steps would you take to support the project that they're trying to get through?
For Leo's question, I believe that in order to facilitate your senators and your committee, you need to know who to go to, who to reference them to talk to. From past experience on our student life committee, Leo was very good at being able to say, you need to talk to this person and this person if you want to do this project. And I feel as Vice President of Student Life, you should be able to do that. You should be able to know where you need to reference people to go to in order for them to do the project. Also, if they need something done and they just can't make a meeting or they're really swamped, Vice President should be able to say, okay, like I'm sure like there's other senators on the committee who would be more than willing to help out other senators in their projects. And that's what's great about the Student Life Committee. The Vice President say, hey, anybody can take on this extra thing that they really need help with it, and people will be more than willing to go in and help. And so I feel like as the vice president, if you can facilitate that connection between senators in your committee and communicate with them, and also be able to reference them to who they need to go to, that will really ease the senator's job, and it will help them be able to become successful in their projects.
So I believe that beside the professional connections between vice president and the senators, outside of the committee with friends, and then at that point, if there's obstacles that prevent the senators from, and that may be unintentional, but if there are any obstacles that prevent the senators from actually, spending time and energy to, finish the project, I think it's the job of the vice president to come out, to help out, to asking what is the problem happening is, and so maybe to provide help. If I cannot help, I will ask some of my senators to step in and handle the project, so you can have time to handle the personal, the personal challenges that you're facing right now, to have time and actually to take care of it. So when you're ready, you can focus 100% entirely energy and time to the responsibility of the senators. Also, I believe that as a committee, we have to work together as a group, as a united piece of students that represent the student life part of SGA that can guarantee the spirit of the students. So, as a group, I fail to see any obstacles that can separate the group from actually achieving the purpose. Because I went just imagine in a group in the group settings that you have every single day. If something happens, that I will encourage everyone, to come in and give them a hand, because that's how group works. Everyone take care of each other, and that's what I firmly believe of what the version of my community will be in the future.
Thank you, Tim.
So if I was vice president of student life, I would like to, when I get a new committee member, a new senator, I would like to have a one-on-one with them, so I kind of know what they're involved with, what they bring to the table, areas of improvement that they could do. If they have a really busy schedule, maybe they shouldn't take on as many projects as someone who has a more open schedule, and have one-on-ones with them bi-weekly to see where they're at. That way we don't take time out of our main committee meeting, and to know where everyone's at and see what kind of help that they need, and maybe hey, let's see if we can hand this project off to someone else who has better connections or better means of getting this job done. So it's building that relationship with you and the senator, but then building this relationship between all the senators in your committee to make it one functioning unit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for the questions. So with that was the last of our debates. But before we close, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys who came, all the people who asked questions, all of the candidates who showed up today, and also a huge shout out to SGA for putting this event together, for collaborating with me and making it really easy for this to happen. Really appreciate it, you guys. Also shout out to San and Mete, whom I worked particularly close with for this event. Thank you for coming and enjoy your...
And we're out. Yeah, thank you for joining us.